Hello guys, welcome back to Go Discs. Now it's time for the next place for which series of New Doctor Who, New Who will be placed in my ranking. And today, now it is going to be Series 11 from 2018. So the first of the Chris Chibnall era, the first of Johnny Whittaker's era as well as the 13th Doctor. Just to clarify with Doctor Who stuff, of course, obviously I'm a Whovian, of course, myself. Been for many years, and obviously I haven't been doing much Doctor Who stuff on the channel. Obviously, more recently I've been doing the novel reviews, stuff for Big Finish, I'm doing the bankings for New Who as well, and there's a reason why, because I feel like over the years since when Chibnall took over for showrunner, it has been very divided. Very much divided, they can, and basically toxic fandom really, and obviously nowadays, especially now, it's still very much still happening. Of course, with the likes of Twitter and everything else, social media's played a strong part in it, and it's done the absolute worst it has in terms of the show. Obviously, it's just one of those things really, and it's like obviously, that's all. It's all played a part really, much more so. I think back in the day, you probably think, okay, it's like. But I think as time goes on, technology advances. Everyone's using social media. It's more out there. It's more, it's become the norm now. Obviously, and obviously, it's just gone a hell of a lot worse, and probably seems to, not stopping anymore really. But here's my thoughts on Series 11, of course. So, at least it's not dead last, that's a good thing, of course. But, there are some stuff on here that is sort of like questionable, really. But I don't say Jo Whittaker's a bad doctor. I won't say she's a bad doctor. She isn't. She's a good actress, she is, and obviously I was quite surprised, but also quite, intrigued to see what she might bring to the part, of course. Obviously, she does the exuberant gusto and everything else, a very sort of optimistic type style. You can think of like Paul McGann, you can think of Peter Davison, you can think of Peter David Tennant as well. That sort of thing. So there's a bit of elements of that sort of that strong lightheartedness of the Doctor, of course. A very sort of breezy Doctor, friendly Doctor, outgoing Doctor, very much, and that sort of works in a way. And I think it's like what we needed. Like we need a breath of fresh air. Something like that sort of thing. But let's go for the episodes themselves. So let's do this. So the first episode is The Woman Who Fell to Earth. I do think it's a decent, strong opener, of course. Set in Sheffield, which is an interesting take for Doctor Who. Down to its scenery and everything else. Its direction as well, fantastic by Jamie Childs. It's a really good, and it looks fantastic. Visually, it's a step up from what the Moffat era has been doing. Obviously, we've sort of fallen behind, but Doctor has now catched up to the present day. Obviously, with this series and the next series as well, it really captures the feel and look for what present television looks like, especially like in streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, all this sort of stuff, of course, that they can throw. It's just like, maybe it's just like do the different lenses really that sort of capture that sort of cinematic look to it. Looks fantastic, it does. Very breathtaking, eye-catching, fantastic. That's what we can say about the whole series about that. A good opener. We get introduced to Tim Shah as well as a bounty hunter, sort of bounty hunter type of character, and also collects teeth and sticks on his face, which is absolutely grotesque. And also you get moments of death as well, a bit of killing as well. The salad man himself, basically gets like his face burnt or whatever, like or crushed. Depends what you call it really. And ends up getting someone's teeth ripped out as well. You hear Tim Shaw break his jaw, but you don't see it actually. You don't see him fully rip his tooth out and stick to his face. Really, it's interesting. It's an interesting design actually for Chibnall's first monster, of course. We also get introduced to the characters as well. We introduced to this, at this moment. Well, at that point, there was three companions, of course. So you had Graham, Yaz, and Ryan. I would say Graham's more fleshed out. He is in this one. He's extremely fleshed out as Bradley Walsh, so I spend more time with him, along with a bit of Ryan as well. I think them two are the more fleshed out in this series. They are. Yaz doesn't really do a lot, really. She plays second fiddle. She's freewheeling it very much at this point in that series, really. And then we've got Sharon Clark as Grace, great character as well. Dies at the end, of course, if anyone hasn't seen it yet. People probably have at this point. It's just, and it's like, interesting. obviously a beloved supporting character. He ends up getting sort of killed in the crossfire, really, trying to take on this creature, and yeah, just how it goes, really. Obviously, it ends with a funeral, and I like the idea how the Doctor obtains the companions. It's like an accidental thing, of course. Like they were meant to stay, continue with their work, really. You know, like their own lives, really, carry on with their lives, really. But they end up being accidentally teleported into deep space. In actual space as well, they float in space, which is ends on that note, which leads into the Ghost Monument, episode 2. Visually, it's interesting because it's filmed in Cape Town in South Africa. It is directed by Mark Tondre, who's actually, believe it or not, he's been ex-radio BBC radio presenter, believe it or not. I know he presented some stuff like, yeah, I did like a TV special on Glastonbury, I think, in '96. Or was it, no, I think it's the Phoenix Festival, I think it was. Phoenix. Yeah, it must have been, yeah. Try and demonstrate, you know, how to wash yourself and how do you use, you know, what's better ways to use water and everything else. It's quite an interesting film, he is, but also he moved on to filmmaking afterwards. Did quite a few. I think he did one with something to do with Jennifer Lawrence in, I think, in a film. I forgot what it's called. House at the End of the Street, I think it's called. I think. I don't know really. But obviously his directing style, pretty good actually. You know, very visually. You've got Sean Dooley as well in this as well. People probably know him recently from It's a Sin. He played Richie Toews' father, very much working class father in the 80s. Susan Lynch as well. I've forgotten her name. And Susan Lynch as well. She's in it as well. It's basically like a race, really. You know, you've got Armalek as well. He's sort of like the main host or the main person who's responsible for it. And they basically race across this like planet that's sort of deadly, like acid rivers, you know, and some strange ribbons, of course, that float around in the dark. You know, and it mentions the timeless child, obviously, and that was foreshadowing what was to come in series 12. But obviously at that point, you know, it's like we thought it was like a throwaway line, of course. You know, you think, oh, the timeless child, or whatever, and people just make theories of that. Obviously, I didn't believe that. I just thought like, oh, it's just like, you know, you call the timeless child or something, you know, and it's like, you know, just like another nickname like the oncoming storm, or you know, that sort of thing, really. And yeah, it does sort of drag out a little bit, really, in terms of everything else, and really, I think this first half in particular sort of falls weaker to that sort of thing, really. I think with Chibnall writing most of the stories on here, because this is slimmed down to 10 stories, they're standalone, and most of them are written by him, so it's a bit of repetition. Also, you get bored, you get fatigued with his writing at this point, you know, when you reach 4 and 5, really, at that point. But it's a lovely film, interesting. It's all right, really. It's not a bad story, really. You know, like episode 2's, second episodes can be a bit, depends where you want to go with them, really. Episode 3, we've got Rosa. This is co-written by Mary Blackman, who did the Northern Crosses stories and whatever. She's done quite a bit. She's also a self-confined you know, Doctor Who fan as well. She actually did what was it, like it's one of those Penguin books, of course, like short tales, like, you know, 12 writers, famous writers end up doing stories. Like you've got Philip Reeve doing a 4th Doctor story. You've got Patrick Ness doing Doctor number 5. You've got Charlie Hinkson doing number 9. I'm trying to think what did Mary Blackman did 7th Doctor. She wrote the McCoy story. She did. You got Derek Landy as well, who did Skullduggery. Oh, what's it? Skullduggery. I forgot the name, the actual full name of it. I remember reading the books. I remember the books back in the day. He did 10th Doctor. What he did. Obviously, Neil Gaiman did number 11. Obviously. So yeah, so she's done a little bit. She's done like a little bit of Doctor Who beforehand, before Rosa, and it's great actually. Very visually. Again, it's filmed in Cape Town as well. It's that, you know, directed by Mark Tondre again. Very visually interesting. I would say it's very heavy on the whole racial thing, of course, even using the N-word as well, which is quite surprisingly. But it really opens people's eyes, it did. It was quite interesting. My mum watched on broadcast and she was quite absolutely flabbergasted. She was absolutely, you know, like it was like shocked. It was quite shocked, and also really touching as well for her. This and Demons in the Punjab as well. They're probably the the Witchfinders. You know, them 3 ones, sort of in a way, are sort of favourites really of, you know, the Whittaker era so far. Captures something. I'll get into those stories eventually. Yeah, but it really talked about different parts of history, really, you know, and also it's shocking. And I'm quite surprised they actually did that, really, you know, and obviously it was quite a bold move, but there we go. But it's a good episode. I'd probably say it's another good one. Obviously, Mary Blackman has a thing, really. I think Chibnall has maybe written maybe little bits and pieces, but I think it's mainly Mary Blackman's story, I think it is. Who knows? And then we got Arachnids in the UK, which apparently the title comes from Vinay Patel, who gave Chris Chibnall the title, which is very enough. It's a play on Anarchy in the UK, but the Sex Pistols, of course, it's like, you know, with No Future by Paul Cornell, the Virgin New Adventure novel that takes lyrics from the God Save the Queen and does. So again, sort of a little fun play on that thing. Giant spider, run around in a hotel. You've got Chris North as Jack Robertson, who later appears in Revolution of the Daleks. It's basically Doctor Who does Eight-Legged Freaks, fair enough, which is okay, which some people sort of recognise. They think, oh yeah, I remember this seems familiar. Oh, it's from that film. Oh yeah, yeah, one of the worst films I've ever seen, really. So fair enough on that front. Okay, toxic race underneath a hotel and giant spiders come around running around Sheffield. Fair enough. Okay, visually interesting. Not too bad for spiders. They didn't really creep me out as much. But it's I don't know. It's just like it's regarded as one of the worst ones. I would probably say it's quite weak. It's weak. Obviously, the whole Trump thing, of course, with Robertson included in, and it's like fair enough. And then we've got Tsuranga Conundrum. So it's another. You know, obviously these ones are written by Chris Chibnall, solely by Chibnall, which some people tend to complain by. All right, Tsuranga Conundrum, space age story set on a hospital, fair enough, actually. And also, I like the twist of it, of course. You know, you think like you got this horrible creature that tends to take on humans, something will take them as prey. You know, and it's like you think, oh, we must be careful, we must be a deadly alien or something along the lines. And you look at the thing, it's a small, like something like of a Disney film, like Lilo and Stitch. It's very much like that, really. And it's like, you know, it's like the builder, but you look at it, you think, what the hell is that? And I think people probably think, you know, what the fucking hell is that thing? And obviously, it consumes everything in one, so it's a mass, so it can just basically eat anything. I think if it touches, well, it's poisonous as well. So it's a deadly little creature running around. Again, it's like if, you know, I think people point this out, like you think if maybe Disney did Doctor Who, they'd probably do something like that, really, or Doctor Who doing on the lines of a Disney film. You know, it could be something like that, really. Visually it's good as well. The story's just like really very much. You've also got this pregnant man as well who calls the baby avocado at the end, which is strange. You think, oh, it's a delicacy, but except with Ryan and Graham, he looked completely bemused, and it's like, okay, it's like, oh, fair enough. Call the baby avocado, would you not? Okay. So yeah, and then we're going to probably say the best half of series 11, which the contributors to the new writers, of course. Also, I mentioned Mary Blackman, of course. We've got Demons of the Punjab by Vinay Patel. Strong story. Again, it's in India in 1947, do the partition of India. I've never heard of the partition of India, so it's interesting little lesson there. Great story. Again, it's like Rosa. It's very much like that sort of, again, the story and the historical nature, the characters that drive it as well, makes it powerful. It does, you know, with these bat creature things. I forgot what the names were. They're sort of in the background, really. They're basically spectres, really, and watch history unfold and watch people kill themselves, really. You know, to observe and tragedy and everything else. I thought that was pretty interesting. Also seeing Yaz's family in the background, you know, at the back, even though Yaz doesn't do much really throughout the series, really. You know, it's nice to see her family get her ancestors get more interesting stuff on, like her grandmother and everything else, or nanny she's known as. And yeah, interesting stuff. But it's visually done as well. Done in Spain, that was filmed in Spain. Kerblam is next, featuring Peter McTeague. If that's he pronounces his name, I'll call him McTeague, actually. I'll say that, really. People say this is a traditional Doctor Who, of course. It's a traditional fun random affair. It's a good story, actually. The Kerblam bops are very interesting. Plays like, you know, your typical murder mystery type stuff, really. Again, people look at it and think, you know, it's pocket Amazon workers, really. I mean, I don't know, really. But who knows about that one. But it's a good story. I enjoy that one, so pretty good. Then we've got Witchfinders. Not to mention, of course, you know, it's rumoured that meant to be Pete McTeague is meant to be take over Chris Chibnall, which is fair enough. I really don't mind, actually. If it is him, fair enough, good for him. You know, Doctor Who fan, of course. I feel again he's a fan. Mind you, all these people are fans anyway, so jumped on. Sci-fi fans who probably watched Doctor Who as a kid and obviously jumped on board. If you look at their works, they're totally different beasts. They are really, but it's interesting, really. Obviously, they tend to write some good stories. Witchfinders is next by Joy Wilkinson. Really good story. I think it's really good. It's very much like Sam Raimi Evil Dead type vibes on here as well. I really enjoy that. I think it's really good. Really visually, good story. The thing that lets it down is the Morax, though. It's like, you know, and it's like when she gets when Saban Finneman's character ends up transforming into the Morax, it sort of turns into like your typical Moffat era story. And it's like, oh, for God's sakes, I thought we'd gone past this already. And it's like, you know, you sort of pop up. It feels like a Matt Smith story. It's like, oh my God. It's like it's like Tunnel Whiplash. It's like, oh my God. But that's the main nitpick with that story. Everything else is absolutely fine. Alan Cummings as King James the First, brilliant. Alan Cummings is great anyway. You know, it's just a really good story, really. You know, obviously, and also they're trying to drown the Doctor because she thinks she's a witch. Fair enough. You know, that's interesting. You know, obviously straight away into the Whittaker River. They don't pull no punches, so that's good. The penultimate story is it takes you away by a time. Another good one, actually. Very sort of trippy and weird. Has a bit of a Douglas Adams vibe to it as well, and it's just bizarre in some places, really. Really good, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Also, you got Talking Frog as well. I do think that's a very good one, actually. You know, It Takes You Away is probably a decent one. I think, you know, from Demons in the Punjab to It Takes You Away, solid good run there. They really hit some marks on there. That's pretty good. And finally, we end off with the Battle of Ranskoor off Kolos. Very underwhelming finale. I wouldn't say it's the worst finale, but it's just felt a bit bland and underwhelming, really. You know, it's like, yeah, it's just a random story, really. You know, obviously the main stick of it is obviously Graham trying to kill Tim Shah or trying to incapacitate him or whatever. Even though his arc sort of and him and Ryan's arc sort of comes full circle in It Takes You Away. Obviously, this is just like, it's like sequel bait, really. It's like, you know, oh, we finally doing something else. And the next sort of like film, really, they sort of turn they're a completely different person. In a way, it's like, you know, no, we have to get rid of this person. We have to kill them, really much. It's like continuity has gone a bit strange, too, with those characters. Phyllis Logan is in as well, but it's really just like, I really just don't, you know, care much, really. You know, it's just like, it just felt underwhelming, really, of course. And we'll finish off with Revolution. We'll finish off with Resolution. Resolution. I think it's pretty good. Nice introduction to the Daleks. The design-wise is fantastic. It's just really good, actually. You know, it's a nice, decent story. It's only one Dalek, but man, it can do a lot of damage, of course. And obviously, I forgot the name. Charlotte Ritchie. That's her name. Really good. You know, really good performance from her as well. Even when she's possessed as well. There's something interesting with those Dalek. You know, that Dalek recon. Officer or whatever you think you call it. Really good, fantastic. Nick Briggs really brings some interesting stuff to the voices as well. Pretty good stuff. Also, it's remote control as well. There's no operator in the Recon Scout, so that's interesting. Good work on the design team, actually. So there we go. Series 11. What do you think of that? If you disagree or agree, whatever, comment down below if you want. If you agree or whatever. Thank you for watching, though. Anyway, guys, I'll see you later. See you later, guys.